right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Tonight, taking an old hotel and turning it into a ray of hope for battered women. One woman's dream to make it happen.
We get warm. It will feel more like summer than autumn, but will any records fall?
And our top story, private policing.
Our goal is to help make sure that there isn't crime occurring in the area that we're patrolling, or at least we're trying to deter it.
Local communities shelling out cash for protection, and the demand continues to grow. We sit down with the head of the only company in our area providing these services.
And this all comes as the St. Louis Police Department continues to battle a shortage of officers. Good evening. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Ann Allred. Now in its 17th year, a company called The City's Finest hires off-duty officers to serve both the city and the county. Brent Solomon is live now with why this option is becoming attractive for area localities. Brent.
Well, tonight I've learned that things are back to normal over at the 3rd District of the St. Louis Police Department. This after numerous officers called out sick yesterday. That led to officers from the 4th District having to cover for those in the 3rd District. Tonight, there's a local company that says it can help in situations like this. A simple stroll down the block has a much larger purpose.
It's a perception of safety. Somebody that wants to do a criminal act sees an officer there, and hopefully it deters them from doing that.
The St. Louis police officer you see here in uniform is working his second gig, patrolling the Central West End on behalf of the city's finest security company.
Well, I know what it's like to come in and work from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then you get off. And then, you know, a lot of officers use secondary for that purpose, is to supplement their income.
The company only allows officers to work 4-hour shifts to prevent fatigue. The officer's full-time employer decides how many hours a week they can work at this part-time job.
They have to take a phone out with them. It has GPS on it and other things.
Owner Rob Betts considers it a partnership.
The police department doesn't have to pool their resources that are on duty to handle a car break-in that could be possibly handled by our officers.
When there's a crime, officers can make arrests.
We just caught a subject 2 days ago with a gun trying to do a robbery.
The department has some 17 patrol cars, and officers are encouraged to make their presence known.
Down low, too fast. All right, good work. We asked them to go out, patrol, and be highly visible. We do nothing but help the city.
Now, the city's finest also employs more than a dozen security officers for local businesses. They also have community ambassadors who patrol on bike. Meantime, the St. Louis Police Department tells us increased starting pay and raises are helping make the department more competitive. Mike.
Brent, thanks.
We are following breaking news right now. Let's take a live look from the scene of a shooting in South St. Louis. You can see it is a very active scene. This is near Gravois and Grand. We have just learned a woman was shot in the head. We'll bring you new information as soon as we get it.
The man charged in a February crash that caused a teenager to lose both her legs will go to trial next spring. Daniel Riley is accused of crashing into Janae Edmondson while she was in town for a volleyball tournament earlier this year. The teenager from Tennessee was struck as she was walking in downtown St. Louis. Prosecutors say Riley was out on bond when that crash happened. A jury trial for Riley is set for March 4th.
New tonight, Gypsy Rose Blanchard will be released from prison this winter, 3 years before her original release. She is serving a 10-year sentence after pleading guilty to second-degree murder in the death of her mother. Dee Dee Blanchard forced Gypsy Rose to undergo unnecessary medical procedures as part of a fraud scheme. Gypsy Rose's boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, is serving a life sentence for the murder.
2 nights ago, a hailstorm damaged cars and homes in the Wentzville area. New tonight, we're learning a high school marching band was also impacted by that severe weather. Hail pounded a trailer North Point High School students had worked years to get. Our Robert Townsend reports the setback has left band members concerned about their next move.
You might say the North Point Grizzly Band is truly grimacing, and with good reason.
Pretty much the hail came at all angles.
Golf ball-sized hail left its mark outside the high school marching band's trailer Tuesday night.
We have significant roof damage.
And inside.
But there's some existing water damage. You can see it's starting to dry.
It was really rough.
The marching band's trailer was parked behind the school when the storm hit. For the past 2 years, North Point band boosters have invested countless hours, raising about $13,000 to purchase the trailer. Just last month, the group also spent $4,000 to have the school's logo put on the trailer.
We're really a family.
Band member Ike Estep plays the trombone.
We've started from the ground up, completely new band, and this trailer is the big thing that we've been working for so long.
The band needs the trailer to travel and compete and haul their instruments and equipment. Band boosters have insurance.
We don't know what the outcome of the appraisal will be. However, if we do have to start from scratch, it'll significantly impact us. We will have to start over with our fundraising efforts.
Pride, passion, purpose, that's the marching band's motto, you bet. Now, more than ever, they are holding on to that as they march through this tough time. Their next big competition is more than a week away in Belleville.
We can only keep ourselves positive.
We're not sure how it'll turn out, but I'm hoping for the best.
Robert Townsend, 5 Your Side.
Wentzville High School Band Boosters annual car raffle is their biggest fundraiser. It'll be held on October 24th, and organizers hope it will help raise money to either repair or replace the school's damaged trailer. We have more information on our website, ksdk.com.
Hours ago, the St. Peter's Board of Aldermen unanimously passed a bill that would ban panhandling in the streets. It prohibits people from being in the street and interfering with or disrupting traffic. It would also stop people from touching a car or the driver and from distributing anything or receiving items from a car. People opposed to the bill say it unfairly targets the unhoused population.
Right now, lawmakers are working on ways to avoid a government shutdown. Today, the Senate leadership advanced a bill to fund the government through November 17th. While it's poised to pass in the Senate, it might not make it through the House. Some Republican congressmen say they want more spending cuts in the short-term resolution. With no deal in sight, the paychecks of millions of Americans are on the line. The deadline for a deal is Saturday night.
St. Louis will soon have another pediatric hospital. SSM Health announced earlier their plans to open a new facility that will replace Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital. I attended the groundbreaking of the soon-to-be state-of-the-art facility. Current and former patients were also at today's ceremony, along with their caregivers, putting those shovels in the dirt. SSM Health's CEO says the new hospital will build onto the legacy of what is already happening at Cardinal Glennon, and the new hospital building will open in 2027.
An old motel that was considered a problem property hurting the community now has a new owner on a mission to help the community. The Grand Motel in North St. Louis was shut down and declared a public nuisance about 4 months ago, but it could soon have a new life.
5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski talked with the woman that's trying to turn things around. A wonderful idea.
Yeah, it really is, Mike and Ann. The new owner of the old Grand Motel wants to turn it into a center for domestic violence victims.
Over the last few years, St. Louis police have been called out to the Grand Motel more than 100 times.
It's been a nuisance for years and years.
But as the new owner, Monique Buchanan sees the potential for it to help the very community that was hurt here.
We just wanted to just be a great facility, and why tear it down and make more just vacant lots when you can save lives?
She wants to turn it into the Eagle's Nest Domestic Violence Center to help victims just like her mother.
I was born to a mom that had 4 children at the age of 20. My biological dad was a heroin addict. So I'm very passionate about survivorship.
Buchanan wants the center to help trauma survivors with everything: a safe and fully furnished place to live, mental and physical health services, and jobs.
So each room will have single people. For each person will have their own kitchenette with a kitchen, a stove, refrigerator, bed. We're going to do a total renovation of the property.
She says she's modeling it after another successful nonprofit living complex, Doorways, which helps people living with HIV/AIDS.
Well, it's amazing what a home can do.
Doorways president and CEO Opal Jones says we need more properties like this in St. Louis.
Obviously, there needs to be more because what we have is just a drop in the bucket. It's hard right now. Rents are sky high. it's just hard to get by in general. And then when you start complicating matters with disease, with domestic violence, and all of these other traumas that people experience, it's just a tough time to survive.
Buchanan says she now has to get the public nuisance order lifted, which states the property is supposed to be closed for a year. The city did not provide a comment on the new plans, but we have a link where you can donate to help her out on KSDK.com.
Lessons from Hurricane Katrina.
It's really a man-made disaster, the failure of the federal levees.
We continue searching for solutions in Louisiana.
No matter how much you maintain, an old machine is still an old machine.
What St. Louis can learn from infrastructure issues in New Orleans.
The old heat machine is cranking for this weekend. At least the sun's not as strong this time of year, right? When the next pattern adjustment brings us back to reality.
St. Louis has a once-in-a-lifetime chance to invest in the city's future with record funding from the federal government and RAM settlement money. Those funds could go a long way to replace systems strained by an eroding tax base as the city continues to bleed population.
So where can cities put these funds to guarantee the best return on the investment? Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, went to New Orleans searching for solutions.
A thriving city needs one thing more than any other: people. Sure, that much may be obvious, but what happens when they leave? We've seen it in St. Louis, a slow, steady decline over decades. But no city has seen a more mass exodus, more drastic than New Orleans, that city on the Gulf that became the front lines of the climate crisis when aging infrastructure gave way to a decades-defining catastrophe.
Well, we lost 200,000 people in a day, so it's a biblical event.
You probably remember where you were when you saw these images on your screen in 2005.
It's really unheard of in American history.
Hurricane Katrina buried one of the nation's most adored cities underwater. Mike Perlstein won 2 Pulitzer Prizes covering a storm he had to survive himself.
On day 7, I waded into my house, water up to my chest, and then when I finally got a chance to take a break, I canoed into my house.
At first glance, many shocked onlookers attributed the devastation to the sheer force of nature. But upon closer inspection,
it's really a man-made disaster, the failure of the federal levees.
Perlstein, now at our sister station WWL, found cracks in the levees and canals, aging infrastructure ignored for far too long.
Turns out it was shoddy, it was not maintained. The engineering design in many instances was substandard, all got exposed, unfortunately, all at once with this major disaster.
It really had gone through a phase of neglect.
We met Ghassan Korban at the Sewerage and Water Board, where he inherited the infrastructure battered by Katrina and another problem exacerbated by it.
Shrinking population, but the system does not shrink because we're still serving all extremities of the city.
What happens when problems grow bigger and fewer people stick around to pay for them?
Well, that's where there are some interesting parallels between New Orleans and St. Louis, is that at the time Katrina hit New Orleans, we were undergoing that slow erosion of tax base, of infrastructure. We were losing population.
In that case, Congress came rushing to rescue New Orleans with billions of dollars to build the city back up. But here,
St. Louis did not have a parallel single incident or a collapse of a whole industry or a disaster to rally the country.
New Orleans may be more of a struggling city in a swamp than a shining city on the hill, but often that's where solutions are born, under immense pressure, just as a city reaches its breaking point.
Water main breaks, just leaky joints, leaky hydrants, you name it.
Water main pipes twist for 1,600 miles under the streets of New Orleans.
We have the most active drainage system in the country.
More than half those pipes are 80 years old. Nearly 1 in 3 were installed a century ago.
They're fragile, they have the tendency to break down.
Water main breaks led to a loss of pressure and the hassles and health risks that can accompany them. When the list of deferred maintenance and repairs grew too long to keep up with, they switched their thinking.
Replace, don't repair, Think 50 years, not 5 years. No matter how much you maintain, an old machine is still an old machine.
Eventually, recurring problems started to disappear. Corbett engineered the construction of 2 massive backup water towers, redundancies ready to send instant pressure into the pipelines.
Between the new pumps and those 2 water hammers, we have virtually eliminated the citywide boil water advisories.
With fewer emergencies erupting, their crews could focus on installing miles of this high-density polyurethane inside the older, brittle pipes.
You don't have to start big, but you have to be very methodical and intentional about funding infrastructure.
He found investing now in new infrastructure to stabilize water pressure in old pipes alleviates financial pressure in future budgets.
We are 100% better long-term, economically, reliably, from a resiliency perspective.
Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
And losing people puts a massive drain on resources that pay police, too. Next week, Mark looks at how population loss pressured New Orleans to get creative on how to lighten the load for New Orleans police.
Let's get to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell with the weather first forecast. Summer is not giving up her fight just yet.
No, not yet. Autumn is here, but it sure doesn't feel like it. 83 today. This was actually one of the cooler days we'll have. And tonight, that bright moon rising. This from John over in East Belleville. Another close shot here of the moon this evening. This taken out in Washington, Missouri by Paul, and he shared that with us. You look at the moon, you know, it really is 100% illuminated at 4:57 tomorrow morning. So that's technically when we are at the full moon, but it's going to look the same tonight as it does tomorrow night. Both nights looking full. Call it the harvest moon, also known as the corn moon for some Native American tribes, and the super moon. We kind of make a big deal sometimes out of it. It's not really that big of a deal. Just the moon is the closest in its orbit to Earth right now, and it looks slightly bigger. I mean, slightly, you really can't tell that much of a difference, but it's big out there and it's bright. Right now, temperatures dropping back through the 70s around the St. Louis area. Some of our outlying areas down into the 60s, but overall, pretty quiet across the region tonight. In St. Louis, looking at a temperature coming in this hour from Lambert at 72. We are partly cloudy to mostly clear. 83 was our top temperature today. Morning low was 64. Similar territory tomorrow. Yes, we could have some areas of fog around. Doesn't look like it's going to be very widespread, though. Not as much as we saw earlier today. Working outside tomorrow, if there's any clouds, it's early in the morning. You know, 4 or 5 o'clock, there might be a couple of spritzes, and then tomorrow afternoon, lots of sunshine. High school football tomorrow evening, warm, around 80 at kickoff time. And then temperatures back off through the course of the evening, dropping into the 60s and lower 70s. Mainly clear, the wind's fairly light. Saturday, your regional forecast, lots of sunshine again. Can you believe it'll be near 90 degrees on Saturday? That's where we're headed. We go into Sunday, we expect temperatures to still be in the upper 80s. If you are traveling this weekend, any direction from St. Louis within 4 or 5 hours, maybe you're thinking about taking a little drive to see if you can find some fall foliage. North and northwest of St. Louis, you might find a little bit, but temperatures are going to be way above average. And look at this 10-day forecast. The changes do not come until the end of next week. We talked about it last night. We're in that blocking pattern. And so it usually takes 5 to 7 days before that breaks down. That's not going to happen until the middle and end of next week. Next weekend, for some of us, we may see highs in the 60s. We'll try to return to more of a fall-like feel, but the next few days not going to feel very much like autumn.
Doesn't look like it. All right, Scott, thanks. Corey is here, in for Frank with what's next in sports.
Well, the Blues face their newest nemesis for the first time, City SC. Well, they're readying to face their unfriendly neighbor, and we hear from one of the most talented high school football rosters in town. Stick around. Sports is up next.
And we hope you'll join us for our next Race, Listen, Learn, Live special, Fighting Anti-Semitism. It airs Thursday, October 5th at 7 p.m. and is sponsored by the St. Louis Kaplan Feldman Holocaust Museum. A Holocaust survivor will share her story, and you'll hear about the local efforts to fight anti-Semitism. Plus, I'll moderate a panel discussion as we search for solutions. That's next Thursday at 7 here on 5 on Your Side. You can also stream it on 5 Plus on Roku and Fire TV.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
The Blackhawks have provided Blues fans with a number of players to loathe over the years. Jonathan Taves, Duncan Keith, and Ed Belfour come to mind. The newest nemesis made his preseason debut tonight, and #1 overall pick from this past draft, Connor Bedard, will likely be the source of many St. Louis headaches in his career. It wasn't fun seeing this to begin tonight's game. Yes, that's now Blackhawks commentator Darren Pang. It pains me to even say it out loud. Bedard flashed his first overall talent early in this one. Look at some of these moves. He's stonewalled by Joel Hofer, though. Chicago up 1-0 in the third until Robert Thomas snipes this one into the net. Tie game. We go to overtime. It's Bedard making the play in his debut. Saucer pass to Anastasio. That's a game winner past Will Cranley. Chicago wins 2-1. Cards and Brewers finale this afternoon to free up the night for primetime Packers football in Wisconsin. Corbin Burns shut down the depleted Cardinals lineup. Brewers scratched a few across against Dakota Hudson. William Contreras and Christian Yelich got the better of him. Overall, not too bad from Hudson, though. 5 innings, 3 runs. Brewers win 3-0. It is the first time since 1990 the Cardinals have lost 90 games.
This 5 on your side St. Louis City SC coverage is sponsored by Together Credit Union.
The St. Louis and Kansas City rivalry on the soccer pitch gets a rubber match this weekend. City won at home in May, lost in Kansas at the beginning of September, and now get a chance to take 2 of 3 on Saturday at City Park. They're also playing for something more this weekend. With a win, City clinches the top spot in the Western Conference. They're 8 points up on Seattle and LAFC with 3 games to go and control their own destiny. A first-place finish would get them home field advantage in the West in a first-round matchup against the wild card winner. And like always, City isn't concerned with anyone but themselves.
We can do this weekend, but if we do our job, then we're sure that we're gonna finish first. So we're still having 3 games, and just depend on us, not in the other teams if they're gonna win or if they're gonna lose. If we do our job, then we're gonna be there.
Big Battlehawks news today. The XFL and the USFL are merging to form one spring football league. Not much is known about what comes next or even what the new league is going to be called, but I think St. Louis fans can sleep easy. If there's spring football, you know our town will be a part of it. Our game of the week on 5 on your sideline is Altoff at Collinsville, and the Crusaders are absolutely loaded this year. Just their junior class has Vashon transfer running back De'Aaron Hill Jr., who has offers from schools like Michigan and Notre Dame. Receiver Charleston Colden, he has a brother in the NFL and an offer from Iowa State. And lineman Jason Dow has offers from USC and Oregon. And this team could be a juggernaut.
That excitement kind of filters down to the other guys because they realize they're practicing with them every day and they set the tone for us. But there's a lot of other players that certainly have the ability to play college football.
The whole team is we're very stacked, and a lot of guys are out here working every day. I mean, look at there's a lot. Talent everywhere, every position.
If we stay on track, no injuries, everybody stay on top of their grades, there ain't nothing that can stop us, really, nothing that can stop us. I don't see no team that can stop us.
Certainly not short on confidence. That'll do it in sports tonight.
All right, Corey, thanks.
Inflation impacts continues across the country. The tasty treats that could soon cost you more. Inflation is impacting nearly every aspect of our lives. Now, Girl Scouts are seeing the impacts. In some areas, popular items like Thin Mints and s'mores will soon cost $6. The price increases are only happening, though, in certain areas right now.
Urban Chestnut will host its 12th annual Oktoberfest this weekend. It all starts tomorrow at noon and continues until Saturday at 11:30. In addition to live music, German food, there will even be an axe throwing and Stein holding competition. And of course, lots of German-inspired beer.
Grant's Farm is looking for local artists to help commemorate the 120th birthday. The farm has a contest going on right now. They're searching for a painter of their anniversary mural. The winning design will be announced in the spring. To find out how you can enter the contest, visit the As Seen on TV section of KSDK.com.
And before you get your weekend started, Scott has a final check of the weather.
We should be in pretty good shape for your Friday. Lots of sunshine. Maybe you're heading out the door a little early tomorrow afternoon. Enjoy a bright sky all weekend long and warm temperatures. Highs will be around 90 on Saturday, upper 80s on Sunday, but that warmth comes without the typical summertime humidity.
And there you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Start your day with Today in St. Louis beginning at 4 a.m. Thank you for being with us. Have a great Friday tomorrow.